Lewis gets it to LeBron for three for the win. Yes!
Fastball hit to left. It is long gone.
We at Geeklare value our listeners' feedback, so you'll be relieved to know that starting this episode, we're rebranding the podcast. Welcome to episode 1 of Stitches in Sports. We'll talk all things sports uniforms, past and present.
Not the athletes, plays, or sport, just the uniforms. Maybe an occasional honorable mention if someone's benched and their civvies are bad.
If you're like me, you need lots of room to breathe in your basketball shorts, so I like the current Bermuda style.
Then there's me. I heart the classic 80s men's Daisy Duke hot pants. They're just so chef's kiss perfect.
That reminds me, I'm Donnie, and she's Kit. Say April Fool's, Kit!
April Fools! We couldn't resist teasing everyone. Don't worry, we're still Geeklare. Comment down below with your favorite April Fool's pranks.
Bet you didn't expect to get April Fooled today, did you? Element of surprise, baby.
Speaking of pranks, I didn't expect to get pranked into watching a flick with a shoddy fan film Jason by my co-host, but I did.
I wouldn't have watched it too if it was a prank, I swear.
Like a trucker, but that's besides the point. Donnie tricked me into watching a flick on Tubi TV with him to review for the podcast. Instead of waiting to watch Iron Lung with a real Jason Kane Hodder in it, more about that later. Instead of talking about real, actual scientific theories for today's episode of Geeklare, we thought we'd dedicate it to their delusional schizophrenic doppelganger sister wives. Conspiracy theories.
Juicy. I can think of one right off the bat. Remember that time we went to the pet store to get our special order for the office monkey fish?
Oh yeah, to get those decorations to go with our Planet of the Apes themed tankscape.
I'll never forget the duo we saw. It was unbelievable.
Me either. A Sasquatch was getting his face fur dyed royal blue and yellow, and the Chupacabra was getting an all-body navy orange and white dye job. I guess they were showing some Major League Baseball love. Who knew?
The store security guard let me watch the footage, so I know how they eluded us.
Uh-oh, we might have flashed our Mulder and Scully badges I got us for the office costume contest too much.
They work, don't they? How do you think I got us free frappuccinos? You want to know how they vanished or not?
Most definitely.
Turns out, when Sassafras gets waxed, he looks just like a shoeless Paul McCartney. He slapped a leash on Choopy and they snuck out the back door.
Huh, you'd think it'd be hard for the walrus to blend in with humans.
You haven't met my mother-in-law.
But a bumps. Said like women never woke up next to Wallace Brighton. Please.
By the way, Tubi TV is currently streaming the 2010 mockumentary Paul McCartney Really Is Dead, The Last Testament of George Harrison, and Netflix has the more serious sci-fi rom-com Yesterday, starring Himesh Patel of Tenet and The Luminaries.
Don't worry. After flashing my Scully badge, I talked the groomer into sneaking RFID tracking chips into their boosters. Pretty soon we'll be diving Scrooge McDuck style into our very own pools of riches.
We both flashed our badges. Um,
Yeah, now I think of it, we should probably switch over to our backup Doggett and Ray's badges first, Bidge.
If Bigfoot were in the Black Hills Forest, it would be in the Southern Hills section of the Black Hills.
Ooh, I got an update. Kit, dust off the camping gear. We're heading for the Black Hills Forest. Oh, this'll be a cinch. I just hope we don't run into the Blair Witch. Hey, that rhymed. Kit, if you had one shot.
Mom Spaghetti! Now that we've got Chewbacca sorted, let's switch to a different conspiracy. Dead celebrity sightings.
I can actually speak to this one personally. A while ago, after the Kalamazoo Comic-Con, I was staying at the Henderson Castle. It's a B&B now.
Ooh, snazzy.
I was checking out the menu when I noticed John Burroughs. And I don't mean the conservationist who created the nature essay, okay? I mean the international heartthrob singing sensation.
Oh, said casually, as if the guy tools around in a sparkly cake jumpsuit, gyrating everywhere he goes.
Well, that's when I realized The B&B was actually a doorway to the secret island where celebrities go after faking their deaths.
Sterling, how many times do I have to tell you neither Celebrity Island nor Horror Island are real?
A man can dream, can he?
Hmm.
Anyway, John Burroughs was standing there right next to Tupac.
Tell the truth. By the time you got back to your room, you were exhausted watching Home Alone and that guy. Every conspiracy nut claims his Elvis was in your dreams.
Then explain Machiavelli being there also.
You know, this is why you're supposed to do that Inception totem check to make sure you're not dreaming.
Kid, I already told you that I didn't get Inception. By the way, listeners, when you're finished here, treat yourself to Geeklare Episode 5, the Warner Brothers 100 Movie Challenge. And while you're at it, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, yada, yada, yada.
Sounds like someone saw ghosts, which is unusual. Most people only see Frank and Mary Henderson at the castle.
They were real, I'm telling you.
Okay.
But wait, it gets even better.
You saw the dog ghost?
Don't be ridiculous. There's no such thing as a dog ghost. Now you're just being silly. No. I saw Tupac tell Elvis they need to make some changes. Change the way they eat.
Solid advice, but I bet that went over like a fool's gold loaf. By the by, for those who don't know, it's a whole loaf of French bread with a whopping pound each of bacon, grape jelly, and peanut butter.
With a side of peanut butter and then a sandwiches, mama. As Ron Burgundy would say,
Boy, that escalated quickly.
someone finally suggested they handle it the old-fashioned way.
A beach off?
Mano a mano. Tupac cracked his knuckles. Elvis dropped into his signature King Fu stance. The waiter, a real wise ass, said a little less conversation, a little more action, please. Next thing you know, it was on. I tell you what, kid, it was mesmerizing. They're both surprisingly spry for 53 and 89.
Them supposedly being alive is kind of more surprising to me than them being spry.
You get hung up on the oddest things sometimes, I swear. But that's not all. Get this. This random guy wearing a raincoat over his black business suit with a thin black tie and white shirt comes up to me. Says his name's DB something or other.
Sweeney?
No. He says he'll put a cool meal on the king for the win. Problem is, even though that'd buy me a lot of Dune 2 popcorn buckets, I already shot my wad at the convention. So I asked if he'd mind if I wagered our Canadian dollar against his Mio Guap instead. Guess he thought he was Archie Karras taking a 1,000,000-to-1 bet like that.
Stellar. I'll book us 2 slots on Starship. We can finally play our Giuseppe Guarneri del Gesu violin on Ralph's.
Can't do it yet, Kit. It was a draw. John Morrison and Kurt Cobain broke up the fight. So unfortunately, we don't have duffel bags of Cooper cash to go to Mars. Though, had we struck it rich, I would have rather had Q make us our own Lotus Spirit submarine car. Then we could finally find out what the secret government research facility in the Mariana Trench was doing to megalodons.
You know, you almost had me. You lost me at Morrison. We still have our Canadian dollar, right?
Yeah. Speaking of our Canadian dollar, Cody Rhodes ended Roman Reigns' 1,316-day title run at WrestleMania. Congrats, man.
I have a problem concerning people's dead celebrity sightings.
Is it that you're jealous you didn't see them?
Since I'm not usually a medium, nor real thrilled with the majority of The Walking Dead, I'm actually relieved I never see them.
If they were sexy vampires dripping with Riz.
I'd be singing a different tune. The thing that irritates me is, how come no one gets a selfie or other verification? Say they get Cobain to sign a couple of Bleach LPs to help them, out of the red. I'm not saying they'd have him sign a Nevermind LP. That'd be crazy, because it came out 8 years after his supposed death.
Well, if the celebrities are leaving secretly on Celebrity Island, then taking selfies and authenticating merch would kind of defeat the point.
I guess. Okay, I guess we shift from sensational tabloid tales of running into dead celebs to a conspiracy theory that's more relatable. Like the government.
Let's not go there. Madame Vestra's been known to eat her enemies. I don't want to upset the Volusians and Electroids.
Both not real. But before you even go there, Also fake, Argonians and Drell. They're only in video games.
Then explain Sleestax, Gorn, and Eunice.
Too many reruns?
Whatever. We're all living in a simulation anyway, so the so-called government doesn't even really exist, bro.
That logic didn't work with the IRS, and it doesn't work on me, Donnie. We're not all jacked into the net 24/7.
We're literally using it right now of our own free will to record the podcast. Unless the algorithm just put us into roles it thought would satisfy us.
But it's not a surrogate's level of dependency. Speaking of, even though I still haven't read the graphic novel, I did see the movie in the break room last week.
I saw that too. If you're a Bruce Willis fan, check out Surrogates. It's directed by Jonathan Moskow, and it co-stars Radha Mitchell of Pitch Black and Tropo.
Most of the population use androids called surrogates to interact with the outside world from the safety of their own homes. Before there's a worldwide panic, Detective Bruce Willis, spoiler, has to find out how a human and its surrogate both died.
Honestly, we're closer to a surrogate sort of reality than people think.
I can assure you, we do not have surrogates. If we did, you would have looked like Paul Rudd while we had lunch, and I would have looked like Julie Newmar for our podcast.
Hear me out, though. We're upgrading to electric cars. We use manufacturing droids. We even have menial labor robots that do specific things like tend bar and stuff.
But we still don't have transporters and food replicators. We're only taking baby steps closer to a mashup of a Jetsons meets Idiocracy kind of a lifestyle.
Okay. We don't have psychic papers and time travel and flying cars and all that, but people are already living vicariously through their online avatars. We shop, bank, and socialize primarily online. We have drones and AI to help us do our work. John Carpenter just used a drone to do a movie, for goodness sake. Think about it, bro.
It's not like tomorrow your Roomba's gonna burst into the bathroom and say, "Yo, meatbag, I wanna see Jack Black and Jason Alexander. You sweep up your own dust bunnies. Me and the small fridge have tickets for Borderlands and the Electric State. Also, use a female equivalent, because I'm not your bro, Vince Russo.
It's a simulation, brah.
Oi, mainlander, it's not Spanish where an O or an A change the word's gender. Bro and bra mean the same thing. Besides, I can't stand how constricting they are.
Ooh, Lolo. Someone's throwing around their artsy-fartsy knowledge.
As if I only watch black and white subtitled fart house films. Oh, great, now you got me saying it.
Said by the person whose favorite music genre is from the 20s. Why do I have this sinking feeling you're going to burst into some epic ode to George Malier's Voyage to the Moon?
Who wouldn't love the Wolverines and Big Spaderbeck?
Sometimes I think you're just naming random things you saw on TikTok.
But they're both real jazz never mind. I watch other things too, is the point.
Hypothetically, or do you have proof of that?
Yes.
Pics or it didn't happen, bruh. Alright, I know we've been dreading this, but we should probably rip the Band-Aid off and get this over with.
All right. Because we at Geeklare know it takes a village to get things done, we prefer to encourage people's artistic endeavors, not douse them with lighter fluid and call them a dumpster fire.
We know that horror movies have a lot of subgenres. They could be psychological, like The Babadook.
Or retro splasher fest like Eli Roth's Thanksgiving featuring Sheriff McScreamy.
There are homages that tip the hat to someone else's masterpiece, like Shining Veil does to Stephen King.
Or even parodies like The Lost Skeleton of Cadabra and Slither.
Which shouldn't be confused with films that, when they were released, were supposed to be serious, but ended up being so bad they were funny.
Like the Rocky Horror Picture Show and The Postman. Or the rare combo like Repo the Genetic Opera.
And then there's Diced. That's DIE apostrophe CED for anyone struggling to find it on Tubi TV like we did at first. So maybe go watch it and judge for yourselves, then come back here because we're about to do our spoiler review.
Donnie and I are professional armchair critics. In this particular case, we've already wasted our time watching this janky movie so you wouldn't have to. I can't in good conscience suggest that anyone should watch this movie. If you have just an hour, you could help register people to vote or sign up to be an organ donor.
Diced runs 59 minutes with ads, 2 montages set to generic video game music to pad the runtime, and the credits, but we promise it'll feel 1,000 times longer.
One of Geeklare's unspoken rules is that we try to find something positive to say in our reviews. I think, positively, this movie proves we're not in a Matrix simulation. Because if we were, we would have been watching a decent horror film where Diced was on the TV in the background while the people ran past it trying to avoid the killer. Diced is so bad,
How bad was it?
it wouldn't even merit a Razzie.
Well, we know the Stonecutters rigged the Oscars. It's not a leap to guess they rigged the Razzies, too. But yeah, Diced. Oh boy. We should have reviewed Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, but no, the internet prefers to talk about this barely feature-length off-brand Terrifier, which is another slasher Kit never saw, which is why we figured she'd be able to offer an unbiased, unique perspective on this movie. But, shocker, Benjamin Newman is just the latest slasher character Kit can't stand.
With good reason. I think Jason Brooks, who played the killer and also did the FX, must have had a Canadian dollar budget for said FX, because it showed.
In Diced, a teen is trying to find out who killed her mother on Halloween. The film starts with bad audio.
We MS3TK'd funnier dialogue. It was rife with unimaginative camera work and shoddy lighting.
And besides the bad audio, it also started with immediate plot holes.
I'm pretty sure the script was typed on Swiss cheese. In the first scene, 2 nurses were trying to cover up that they released the wrong patient.
They say they'll destroy the evidence he was there, but they also say he was there for 17 years. That's a long paper trail. Why don't you just tear up the one release form and say he broke out?
Why the podunk town kept the sadist who diced up his parents in a Willow Hill psychiatric hospital instead of a high security type Arkham Asylum for the criminally insane is beyond me. This movie was supposedly set in the 80s. The lead claims she's well versed in self-defense, then proceeds to do absolutely none. For the Halloween party at the club, the lead wears a cheapo Party City Laura Croft ensemble. To make matters worse, she sports a real survival knife that wasn't even confiscated at the door for not being peace bonded. Worse yet, Two Murder Game wasn't even out until a decade later.
Well, even It 2017 made anachronistic mistakes. Give him a break.
I'm out of breaks to give, Donnie. I can't even bother to suspend my disbelief for this piece of cinema. Come on, you're saying you didn't clock the rest of the shoddy decor and set pieces? There's the scant 6 kids in the lunchroom scene where none of them ate anything. How about the only decoration, a poster that looked like the gaffer's gerbil made it with crayons that said, Happy Halloween? Ugh.
Later on, in broad daylight for some reason, we also see one lone trick-or-treater with his dad. I guess they couldn't afford another night shoot.
He only took his kid, whose loot bag was empty, by the way, to one house. And the dad was already calling it quits, like he was going to be late for a Pepto audition or something. For me, the worst offenders were the costume department. From the boring villain's outfit to the uninspired party scene clothing, where most of the cast seemed to be wearing average street clothes.
I always think it's silly when bad guys steal clothes in movies and they always fit the bad guy perfectly. I like the saggy realism, even if it was probably, well, okay, who are we kidding? Definitely accidental.
That's the thing, though. An adult wouldn't perfectly fit into a teenager's costume. It should have looked like he was crammed into scarecrow lederhosen. They shouldn't have been long and saggy. If you've ever seen an adult playing Princess Tea Party that let the kid beat their face, you know how straight up Tom Savini terrifying that makeup can be. Then you have Diced, where every cast member's makeup is unremarkable.
Yeah, those little fingers really can't stay in the lines. It can turn into whatever happened to Baby Jane in a heartbeat.
Or look like that Dead Mediums from Black Sabbath, the Drop of Water segment. That ginger hag still gives me the Wiggins.
Whenever I had to play Tea Party, no one ever got her drinking the invisible tea, except for the occasional fake burned tongue. Yeah, the makeup here was awful for a scarecrow. It's even more awful considering they're ripping off a movie where the killer was a clown. You'd think they would have spent more on the makeup budget.
We have to talk about her moron brother, Colin Fisher, who couldn't act his way out of a paper bag. Yet somehow, despite it being a dark Halloween night, he could ID a villain. Then again, miraculously spot him from across the room during a fake crowded costume party. And how about his bro stares when he rings 911? I have to highlight 911 too. In real life, usually the first thing they ask is, "What's your emergency?" Not, "Do you know who kidnapped you?"
Yeah, the brother sucked. Even when he was playing upset guy who was unable to form complete sentences, I didn't buy it.
I'd be a bad critic if I didn't mention the best friend, played by actress Esha Moore. Girl, listen to your parents. Stay in school. You need a real job to fall back on. This acting thing is not working out. Maybe it's just me, but for a supposed slasher, it wasn't very bloody or gory, which for me, I guess, is another positive.
There have been several horror films with low kill counts. 1931's Frankenstein, Demonic Toys, The Birds, Cujo, and Better Watch Out all had only 3 kills in it, and only 3 humans were killed in Gremlins, and depending on how you count it, Leatherface only had 4 or less kills in the first 4 Texas Chainsaw Massacres. Apologies to all of those other films that you have to share any kind of category with this one.
You could count the victim tally on one hand. I didn't think that the victim that looked like he had sriracha stripe on his tummy, I don't think he counted.
Well, I counted 7 kills, including the parents in the backstory and the off-screen. Technically unknown, but come on, it's a horror film, Fate of the Coffee Shop Guy.
Pre-asylum victims didn't count for me. I only gave half a point each for the dad and the idiot brother because technically, with immediate medical intervention, they could both survive their wounds, especially since 911 showed up hella fast in that town. I also felt Coffee Shop Guy was alive because the killer had already pissed off to stalk the girl. My other complaint is about how they went out of their way to emphasize the title card with a special spelling. Then the only people that got diced, which they only alluded to, were his parents. The rest of them were half-heartedly slashed, lopped, or stabbed, compared to, say, the Saw franchise, which features some sort of a saw in every movie.
How the hell did the final girl recognize her dead mother's necklace? It was never foreshadowed, and it never came up in any flashbacks or photos. The final girl just randomly sees the killer with it. Because after a candy bribe doesn't work, he tries to pawn the necklace off on her.
If I had any influence on what you might choose to do instead, you could donate blood or binge Evil on Paramount Plus so you can be ready to watch season 4 when it airs this May. Heck, you could walk Choopy. Whatever you do, just don't watch Diced.
I dunno, Kit. We suffered through it. Everyone else should, too. If nothing else, I'm still going to tell Steve to watch it.
Oh, Donnie, that's just so mean. Actually, I'm okay with that.
Everyone else, I'm telling you, click out now, because we're about to spoil the ending.
Her mother's alive. Her kidnapper is actually her biological father. And this entire time, her mom was a nurse looking after her dad in the asylum.
The cliffhanger ending was trash. There's no explanation why the mom faked her death, or why the killer's after their daughter now, or why the dad never told her about the killer in the first place until now. It was clearly all setting up a sequel that nobody wants.
Oh, holy one, no, please never make a pre or sequel, or win the lotto and retcon or reboot it. Ugh.
If they win the lotto, they could turn this into a whole franchise. That's a terrifying thought.
No,
No
no,
pun
no,
intended.
please don't. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Ugh. Ugh. You know, Terrifier's about to do a third film and still not explain everything, too. But we don't care as long as the story and the characters are good. But here, they just aren't. None of them are good. Even the people who did the credits on this movie didn't care. 3 people are listed as high school students. Not high school student 1 through 3, just high school student, all credited the same. 3 other people are credited as just cop, and Nurse 2 is listed before Nurse 1, which makes it even weirder since they did get numbered.
Needless to say, Maybe you screen the slashers first from now on, Donnie, so one of us doesn't suffer a trifecta of disappointment.
Okay, I get it. You don't like terrible slashers. But you know that means when I think there's a good one, I'ma suggest it.
Oh, all right, that's fine. I still feel bad that I had to sink your we're all in a simulation theory, though.
Well, maybe we're all just living in someone else's simulation, or being replaced by replicants.
Okay, I guess that is kind of hard for me to disprove, especially since we know Geminoid sometimes teaches Professor Ishiguro's classes.
Interestingly enough, I clocked them both at the beginning of Surrogates. But don't you think it's bad that he made that AI android look like a clone of himself?
It would be bad if the class said and did so many stupid things it caused Geminoid to have a logic breakdown, so that he ended up going full alien bishop, sorry, I meant Ash on them and had to exterminate the class. Being dead would ruin one's GPA. I can also envision why Holy Rollers might find it a smidge blasphemous in the God created us in his own image kind of way. Personally, though, I think Android instructors are groundbreaking.
What's the name of that course again so we don't accidentally take it?
It's called Theoretically More Than We Need to Know to Run Our Podcast.
Well, you can't convince me that we're not being replaced by clones, like living with yourself in Clone High, or alien pod people like the faculty in Kotla.
Now you're starting to sound like Escanaba in the Moonlight's Jimmer.
I bet those aliens only go to Escanaba because they're fudge suckers too.
Maybe. Could be the pasties are mentioned in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
It's not like I'm going to be in any euchres tournaments anytime soon.
Don't fret. If you were, I'd come for visiting hours. I digress. I know it's been 28 years since the Roslin Institute cloned 6LL3, but it's not like we can spend the day at the beach while Dolly and our clones do our podcast. Short of joining Neolution or the Darrows Foundation, the only surefire way to see clones in action is to watch the 50-episode series Orphan Black, which features Tatiana Maslany in multiple roles.
A streetwise grifter is dragged into a far-reaching conspiracy after she witnesses her doppelganger die.
If you want more of a good thing, you could read the 3 comic book series. Both Orphan Black and Helsinki have 5 issues. Deviants has 6. Orphan Black Crazy Science only has 1.
There's also an in-world compendium, the Orphan Black Classified Clone Reports by Dr. Delphine Cornier, and a 2-season podcast, Orphan Black Realm, on Apple and YouTube, narrated by Tatiana Maslany.
On the 23rd of June, you can watch the spin-off Orphan Black Echoes on AMC, AMC Plus, and BBC America, starring Keely Hawes, who people might recognize as the video game voice of Lara Croft and from the Midwich Cuckoos, and Kristen Ritter of Don't Trust the Bitch in Apartment B, the band ex-Vivian, who wrote the 2017 psychological thriller Bonfire.
Geeklare has you covered if you want to see some more clones. Netflix has They Clone Tyrone. The 2023 movie was directed by Jewel Taylor. It stars John Boyega of Watership Down and Pacific Rim Uprising, Jamie Foxx of Day Shift and Robin Hood, and Teyona Paris of Mad Men and Candyman.
3 unlikely heroes band together to fight bigoted institutional overlords.
Also on Netflix, there's the clone-adjacent 18-episode series Altered Carbon featuring Will Yun Lee of Falling Water and Witchblade, Anthony Mackie of Twisted Metal and We Have a Ghost, and Joel Kinnaman of For All Mankind and The Killing. He's also going to be in the upcoming They Found Us.
The series takes place in 2328. Interstellar travel and relative immortality is possible because consciousness can be digitized, stored, and transferred, called resleeving, between bodies. But only the wealthiest Methuselahs can afford to be resleeved indefinitely. Talk about generational power and wealth.
Newly resleeved envoy Takashi Kovacs tries to discover who murdered meth mogul Lawrence Bancroft. It has plenty of intriguing conspiracies.
I love the whole series, in particular AI, Poe, and his Raven Hotel. The series is based on the Takeshi Kovacs trilogy by Richard K. Morgan. The 3 books are Altered Carbon, Broken Angels, and Woken Furies. Netflix also has the animated spin-off Altered Carbon Resleeved.
Maybe you want something less cloned, but it's still in the Neolution scientific breakthrough vein? Well, on Netflix, you can binge the German 12-episode sci-fi thriller Biohackers, directed by Christian Ditter. starring Luna Wedler of All the Light We Cannot See and Jessica Schwartz of Blackout. University medical student Mia gets a crash course in bioengineering when she becomes Professor Tanya Lauren's intern.
2 notes here. I suggest watching the series out of order. Consider viewing the second season first. I also watch things in their native language, and when possible, I choose the hearing impaired subtitle option because they give better contextual clues.
Good to know, Kit. All right, if we're not being replaced by clones, maybe they're replacing us with androids, like in Fallout or Total Recall.
You mean like Arnold Collins in the 90s TV series?
I mean the one that's the most real.
That would be none of them. How about we just pick one of them to talk about?
Okay, sure. We'll split it down the middle and talk about Total Recall 2077 with Carl Pruner.
Ooh, you mean Michael Easton.
No one wants to hear you gush over Michael Easton.
He even played a vampire in...
A different program. In this series, he's a human.
And just as pretty. Conspiracy theorists say he's secretly a Baldwin brother.
With the way he broods, his blue eyes and dark hair, I can see why you just made that up. 22-episode series is like a cross between Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and Blade Runner.
If it's half as good as the series Minority Report and 12 Monkeys and the Electric Dreams anthology, which I really enjoyed, it'd be a nice rainy day binge.
Featuring a dystopian cyberpunk future, the Earth is controlled by a handful of powerful conglomerates, so basically it's now. Total Recall 2077 shouldn't be confused with other programs where the human cop is partnered with someone that isn't human. You know, like Alien Nation, Almost Human, Bright, Turner and Hooch.
Okay, I get it. There's lots of humans paired with non-humans. In this one, Michael Easton and his partner are detectives in the Citizens Protection Bureau. Together, they explore the implications of AI, software, and cybernetics, and how those advancements might enrich or be the downfall of society.
But should we trust self-aware androids?
Probably not Skynet or Terminators. We could learn to live and thrive together like they do in the Swedish 20-episode series Real Humans, created by Lars Lundstrom, starring Lisette Pagler of The Successful Find of Mr. Moto, the 16-episode Russian version Better Than Us, starring Paulina Andreeva of 13 Click Shestya and The Method, or the 24-episode BBC remake Human, starring Gemma Chan of The Creator and the IT Crowd.
Each variation features a suddenly self-aware android that escapes the corporation that created it. Hiding in plain sight as a nanny, she befriends her human family that has been on the verge of falling apart. She's hunted by homicide detectives and 2 terrorist factions. One wants to destroy her, the other wants to recruit her.
It's about how humans react when faced with replacement and the nuances of extending basic human rights to self-aware androids.
Now, are humans relieved androids can do menial labor like housekeeping or life-endangering tasks like work in a caustic environment?
Or are humans jealous and resentful that an android can look after their family's emotional and physical needs by, like, being a nanny to their children or their spouse's lover?
That's a lot of hypotheticals. This is way too smart for our podcast, you know? Let's say we shift gears and talk about a different theory that's been on everyone's mind. We're all thinking it. Hollow Earth. You know, we've only explored 5% of that.
Whoa, wait a minute. Again, not real. Hollow Earth has been disproven multiple times, Donnie. It's the reason why we couldn't dig a hole all the way to China and snack on Peking duck whenever we got the yen when we were kids.
Kit, everyone knows that China isn't in Hollow Earth. Obviously, Shambhala is.
Oh, wow, I'm kind of speechless right now.
Also, everyone knows they recently uncovered a secret ape society living there. So there you go, anything's possible now. Ooh, maybe the Sisters of the Coin hid a secret backup copy of the Holy Grail down there.
Holy Grail. Oh. Okay, yeah. Everyone knows the Holy Grail is real.
Speaking of cults, Steve mentioned something about you being in a cult once. Something about wearing creepy robes, drinking blood like a vampire, with chanting in the moonlight.
As if I was sky-clad in the woods, sharpening my hidden blade to sacrifice Templars for Slender Man.
Well, if the cloak fits.
Steve's such a sensationalist. I was an alto in the church choir. We led the congregation procession for midnight mass on Christmas Eve, and it was a wafer and wine for communion.
Man, that juicy story balloon deflated into a boring Sunday so fast I got whiplash. What's your verdict on the Secret Ape Society?
Let me ponder a real quick minute here. All right, okay. How about for the time being, we should put that in the just as possible as kaiju column.
That's not a no. So far, so good. Oh, or this could be another Miles Morales situation with gateways to the Spider-Verse. Ooh, if they can't get Godzilla back for the next film, maybe real Kong fights animated Kong to see who gets the crown.
I think you're just writing MonsterVerse crossover fan fiction again. Still, I would see that. They should put that fight on what's left of pay-per-view.
And expose the multiverse? No. Doctor Strange, the Crystal Gems, Monarch, and the Spider Society would team up to keep it quiet. Oh, sorry, I'm writing fan fiction again.
Maybe we should go with a tamer conspiracy theory, like the government.
You really want to go there and wedge us between the lefts and the rights? Or get us mixed up in everyone's 15-minute hot button movement?
Oh, no, not like that. I meant like we should talk about Inside Job and Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, color me relieved. I thought you got drunk on communion wine again.
I would never. Communion wine is only for you, Crest. Though I do have an empty solo cup.
The 8-episode series Rabbit Hole is streaming on Paramount Plus, starring Kiefer Sutherland of Touch and Dark City, and Meta Golding of Colony and the Tomorrow People series.
Kiefer is a master of corporate espionage who finds himself framed by powerful forces with the ability to control populations and subvert democracy. Fans of complex political espionage classics like The Manchurian Candidate, The Marathon Man, and The Parallax of You will probably enjoy this series.
Maybe you're looking for an animated program to take your mind off real-world government debacles. If American Dad, Centaur World, and Gravity Falls are more your speed, try Inside Job. The 18-episode series is on Netflix, featuring an ensemble voice cast with talents of Lizzie Kaplan of Cobweb and the upcoming Zero Day, Christian Slater of Archer, Mr. Robot, and the upcoming Spiderwick Chronicles, Tisha Campbell of Martin and Pantheon, and Clark Duke of Hot Tub Time Machine and Kick-Ass, just to name a few.
Follow the exploits of Cognito Inc.'s crack team of misfits whose sole job is to cover up conspiracies and alternative facts spin doctor the ones that fall through the tracks.
They teased a Spin Doctor song in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and we never got it. I was so disappointed.
Some ghosts like to disappoint you, 'cause they're dead now.
Inside Job is full of conspiracy Easter eggs, as well as plenty of real and animated celebrity cameos.
Out of all the controversial and questionable androids, clones, and Hollow Earth we've touched on, not a single one has panned out, Donnie. So I say maybe it's time we talk about the only thing I can prove exists.
Is it going to be about that time we went to Rachel to see who was going to storm Area 51?
K&J must have used a neuralizer on me. I forgot about alien stock. But that did remind me how we ended up with a case of the universally renowned Bud Light space beer.
Better than a cold mountain stream, ice cold space beer. Not a sponsorship. We've been plugging a lot of people this episode. Honestly, y'all should hit that like button to show us you appreciate it. Someone should appreciate it. By the way, how did you score that promotional beer fridge?
It was easy peasy.
Kreetalk? Kid, are you secretly from Yauta Ja Prime?
Why would you think that?
Because no one in the office knows how you bypass that specialized alien fingerprint security lock it has in the first place.
Would you believe me if I said I was a computer whiz?
No, you can barely operate Cheese Whiz.
One can explodes like a silly string cannon. It could have happened to anyone. I opened the fridge using the Buzz Lightyear action figure hand. Bud Light was so impressed, they just let me have the fridge. Me, an alien. Even if they are scientifically possible, it's improbable aliens are actually on Earth.
Then how come I saw them? 3 were different shades of green, 1 was purple. Contrary to crackpot abduction reports, they were huge. They were furry, and they used a universal translator to speak human.
They had a translator?
Yeah, sure, Kit. They kidnapped an interpreter. He was in the middle of them doing sign language.
Wow, that's. Oh man, you're yanking my chain. Just where were you when you saw this?
Road trip to a horror convention. We had to do a pit stop in Indiana.
Are you sure you just weren't watching Polly? Indiana. Oh! Well, you'll either be relieved or upset. You know what a mascot is, right?
Yeah, it's a good luck charm.
I think you actually saw Orbit, Wally the Green Monster, the Philly Fanatic, and Raymond. They were probably on their way to the Mascot Museum in Indiana.
Yeah, now that you mention it, that makes more sense. Before we get sidetracked again, what's the only thing you said Geeklare can prove is 100% verifiably real?
The Illuminati.
That's right, the Wait, what? Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
First Liam Neeson's rebooting The Naked Gun, now you.
What's the matter? You look worried.
The Illuminati is one of the oldest top 5 internet conspiracies ever.
I can't speak for the internet. As for me, Illuminati is definitely one of my top 5 favorite board games. It's more entertaining to play this with 2 to 6 friends than watching dice could ever be. The player is part of a secret society that branches out into various special interest groups in order to gain world domination.
Board games? I thought you meant, never mind. You know, they also adapted it into a card game, Illuminati The New World Order. It has a few expansion sets, Subgenius, and Assassins.
Well, they're both published by Steve Jackson Games. The board game has some expansion packs too: Brainwash, Mutual Assured Distraction, Alternative Truths, Illuminati 2020, and a blank set you can fill in yourself. But not all of them are in print still, so you have to find them on eBay. My old ones are falling apart. I played them so much. I probably should get those replaced.
Whew, you had me worried we'd have to listen to rants and paranoia.
Paranoia! How did I almost forget to mention one of the best tabletop strategy RPGs?
I never thought you'd double down. First Illuminati, now paranoia.
You'd be hard-pressed to name another game where knowing the rules of the game are technically treason and punishable by the death of your clone. You and your 10 clones can play the game in one of 4 ways. You can do it like a Norse cyberpunk thriller like Mute, or an 80s style comic book style like Excalibur, or an absurdist parody like Final Space or Futurama. Or if you couldn't decide, you could play it like it's a mashup of 1984, Catch-22, The Expanse, and Portal.
We absolutely have the clearance to talk about paranoia with its various secret organizations, backstabbing, betrayal, treason, and a computer that just might be out to get you.
That's because we're not commie mutants. We have ultraviolet clearance. As for anyone listening who doesn't, report yourself in triplicate, then immediately proceed to your nearest sadness correction booth, or don't move, your nearest purge squad will come to you.
Remember to eat your algae. Work is happiness. Beware of subversive mutants. Failure to like and subscribe is treason.
You know, maybe we should just stick to geek news, and boy, do we have some.
This is GNN. This year, April 20th, will be known for one thing: Record Store Day. Contact your local music shop for promotions, giveaways, and other in-store events. Special collectibles for 2024 Record Store Day include the Pixies live at Red Rocks Amphitheater in 2005 on vinyl for the first time ever.
Wow, man. Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke is like totally gonna be available in green and smoke black vinyl.
A Record Store Day 2024 exclusive Doctor Who The Edge of Destruction picture disc.
The 25th anniversary South Park concert on 3LP, Towely Blue vinyl, and a 50th anniversary Monty Python picture disc LP. The soundtracks from Airplane and even more Dazed and Confused, plus music from movie star Joe Pesci, and music from the bands Killing Joke and King Kong.
New material from the Flirtations after 55 years.
The Japanese radio edit of Pharoah Sanders' Harvest Time / Love Will Find a Way 7-inch, and so much more.
Some U.S. stores may sell releases online on April 21st, but don't wait. Check recordstoreday.com for participating locations and more information. What else is happening, Donnie?
The Joker 2 trailer came out. I'm so uncultured, I thought they were going into Pure Imagination, not Love Sweet Love. I can't believe that they used the French title for this. Americans are stupid. We're not going to call it Joker Folio à Deux. We're going to call it Joker 2. Everyone's calling it Joker 2. That was really stupid of them. I believe Folio à Deux is French for pretentious filmmaking a-hole. No, wait, I'm wrong. It's actually French for a shared delusion. But worst of all was the fact that, at least from the trailer, this could be wrong when we actually watch the movie, but the trailer suggests that Harley Quinn's not the Joker's therapist in this universe, but rather a fellow Arkham Asylum inmate. And if she's already insane, manipulating her is not very impressive. But for anyone that wants to see that movie, it's coming out October 4th. What did you think of the trailer, Kit?
I do like Joaquin Phoenix as an actor. I thought he was creeptastically handsome in Gladiator. This version of Joker is a sad sack that snapped. He's not engaging. And yes, I'm going to go there. Arthur Fleck is a mental midget. Earmuffs, kids. Sorry, Mom. But who the frau thinks this Joker is a master of deception, deflection, and devious manipulation? Come on, raise your hands, everyone who thinks the Joker is a masterpiece, a thought-provoking lens into mental illness, blah, blah, barf. Newsflash. He couldn't get street thugs to stop using him like a piñata. What makes anyone think he's suddenly mob boss material that could convince and control his very own band of violent, merry madmen? Let alone thwart and outwit Gotham PD, organize and twist other master criminals to his will, and keep the masked detective on his toes. He's such a loser, Burt Ward's boy blunder wouldn't even need Batman's help to take him back to Blackgate, which is where Fleck should be. Having said that, just what would psychiatrist Harley Quinn find so alluring and appealing about Arthur Fleck, that he was able to pull a reverse Stockholm Syndrome and get her to break him out of Arkham? Absolutely nothing. Foreshadowing, who cares? I mean, who knows? The final scene is in the visitation room when we see Joker looking bored and uncommunicative. Then a glimpse of what we're supposed to think is Harley's finger drawing a blood-red lipstick smile on the partition glass, which flips the script, and suddenly he perks up. We guess that means she came uninvited to try to talk him into hiring her as his shrink, which means everything before, including her "I'm nobody," were delusions he had whilst he was sizing her up. Ugh, boring. Okay, I had to search my soul far and wide to think of one not negative speculation. If Harley is infatuated with Arthur, then it's going to be because they give her some previous sad sack domestic violence codependent storyline where Arkham's warden is her abusive father and the head guard is her abusive boyfriend or some crap like that. And she snapped and was inspired by Arthur's underdog message and felt like they were kindred spirit. Nah, it's just such a crappy premise that anyone would be attracted to Arthur Fleck. I can't even puke out a guess.
And it's a musical. It's ringing endorsements all around. And speaking of Batman, the Penguin TV series drops this September on Max, and because it's weekly TV, they'll probably have a new episode out in time for Batman Day. And in 2025, we're getting a Summer of Superman promotion. Besides James Gunn's Superman, we can also look forward to a newly announced documentary, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. And hopefully lots of other cool stuff that we don't know about yet that will be announced later. Issue 1 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin 2 is in comic stores now. A new Turtles team is formed starting in that issue, so collectors will definitely want to grab that one ASAP. And The Last Ronin 1 is also being adapted into the first ever R-rated TMNT movie, It's going to be live action, and Walter Hamada's involved.
Issue 1 of Deadpool and the latest issue of Godzilla War for Humanity are also in comic book shops right now. July 24th to 26th, the fan-run convention Shore Leave will be held at the Wyndham Resort and Convention Center in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Prices vary by day and age. Check their website, shore-leave.com, for more info and to pre-register. Otherwise, it's first come, first serve until tickets sell out. There's a masquerade, a writing workshop, gaming room, band panels, and other fun, nerdy things to do. Some guests will include Stargate's Amanda Tapping and Terrell Rothery of Arrow, Star Trek Picard's Todd Stashwick, and Ashley Sharp Chestnut. From Heroes, we've got Greg Grunberg, and from Lucifer, we have Leslie Ann Grant and D.B. Woodside.
Marvel Comics is doing a company-wide symbiote event in honor of the 40th anniversary of Spider-Man's Black Suit storyline. Between May and August, various Marvel characters will get black suit variants of their usual costumes.
There's also blind boxes of symbiote variant mini action figures available now.
Kevin Smith is writing a sitcom in the style of My Two Dads.
Following their successful Batman and Walking Dead video games, Telltale Games are now making a Back to the Future video game, with Christopher Lloyd even returning as Doc Brown.
Marvel Rivals is a new PvP co-op video game. It's really a NetEase and Marvel Games collaboration, but Marvel loves to put their name on everything. It'll be exclusive to PCs at first, and critics are calling it a 6 vs 6 Overwatch ripoff, but at least it's free to play and has the Punisher in it, firing projectiles. Downside, the Hulk blasts gamma rays, which makes no sense, because that would either give your opponent Hulk powers, which would put him at a disadvantage, so why would you do that? Or it'd give your opponent cancer, which isn't very heroic.
Yeah, I know. Even putting that aside, he's been smashing weapons to atoms since Lou Ferrigno. Bruce Banner, I can see him might needing a gun, but Hulk? So dumb. Kit mad. I got the eye rolling, holding my hands, palms up to the heavens out of my system. I think it's going to be something closer to Hulk's gamma rays charging Iron Man's armor, so maybe it can get a buff or do a special attack.
I guess, maybe. They gotta make it make sense some kind of way. They gave an example of Rocket being able to ride into battle on Groot's shoulders. I guess you can assemble a changing roster of heroes and villains that battle synergistically with their unique powers that they combine to make different tactics possible across different destructible maps. The plot is Doctor Doom and his 2099 incarnation team up, and they created Time Entanglement. All those colliding universes have created new ones with unforeseen consequences. Each season's going to drop new playable characters and new environments. And each defeat shifts dominance, like me in the bedroom. They start alpha testing it in May, so that's cool that you can actually be part of that. To sign up for beta testing, go to marvelrivals.com.
Skydance Media and Marvel Studios are making a narrative-driven action-adventure game, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. A World War II-era adventure where players assume the roles of 4 different playable characters: a young Cap Steve Rogers, Black Panther Azuri, Howling Commandos Gabe Jones, and in occupied Paris, Wakandan spy Nanali. You can visit marvel.com/Infinity Comics to get free digital access. No sign-up required to start reading hundreds of Marvel's Infinity Comics. The list will rotate throughout the year. In other news, Blumhouse wants to find a way to do Five Nights at Freddy's spin-off movies. Beware, there be spoilers. Even though Five Nights at Freddy's 2 doesn't come out until the fall of 2025, eagle-eyed fans have already spotted characters from the second game in the current trailer.
As part of their new quality over quantity business strategy, Marvel Studios isn't moving forward with plans for Eternals 2, Ant-Man 4, or Captain Marvel 3 anymore, but we are still getting Ironheart and Wonder Man TV shows. Meanwhile, Fantastic Four is being set in a 1960s alternate universe to help keep the timeline clean and easily understandable.
In other news, Adam Wingard has ideas for the next Godzilla Kong movie. You better not steal our crossover.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing another Christmas movie, and it co-stars Reacher's Alan Ritchson. Santa's bag is stolen, and he has to turn to people on his naughty list to get it back.
Season 2 of Tiny Toons University is airing now on Cartoon Network and streaming on Max.
Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are re-teaming for a vampire movie. It's set in a Jim Crow-era South, and Jordan is rumored to be playing twin brothers. And insiders are calling it Vampires versus the KKK. Shut up and take my money.
Margot Robbie is producing a live-action Monopoly movie for Lionsgate. No word yet on if she's also starring in it, but after Barbie's success, you'd think she'd be able to pass go and collect $1 million.
Billy D. Williams says he's willing to play Lando Calrissian again. Disney said nothing in response, so yeah. Aziz Ansari is directing himself, Keanu Reeves, and Seth Rogen in a currently untitled R-rated comedy about a broke man whose life gets switched with the rich jerk he works for via angelic magic. But when he fails to learn money doesn't buy happiness and refuses to go back to his old life, Angel Keanu is stripped of his wings.
That kind of sounds like the old Dan Aykroyd Trading Places movie.
A little bit. It feels a little Trading Places little Trading Places meets It's a Wonderful Life. It sounds really funny.
Dave Bautista will star in The Killer's Game, based on Jay Bonasinga's novel of the same name. A hitman with a deadly illness authorizes a hit on himself, only to find out he was misdiagnosed. Wah wah. Bautista will also be voicing the villain in Aang, The Last Airbender. That's all for us. Say goodnight, Donnie.
Good night, Donnie.